Good morning, guys, and welcome to another Van Build episode. Today we are working on plumbing. I don't have the hardware on yet, but this will be a way to get our water jugs out. So we're going with a simple pump system that will use 2 of these water jugs, so we'll have 14 gallons of fresh water under our kitchen. We also will have 1 extra jug in the garage so that we have 21 gallons of water that we will be able to utilize. And then we also have a smaller 6-gallon container for our gray water. So the plan is going to be to add a SHURflo pump and an accumulator tank, hopefully on the wall. We don't have a lot of space to work with, but I think we should be able to make it work. One of the things that we have to worry about is our sink goes down a little ways. We're doing an under-mounted sink, so that'll come later on in the video. The first plan of attack is to cut holes that are large enough for the items that we're using to connect all of our tubing together. I bought these CPC or Colder quick connect pieces that have a check valve in them. So after doing some measurements, I found that a 1.5 inch hole saw should fit that ring. There's the hole in the cap. So it has this little rubber gasket. It has a little notch out where it notches right over. That will go through, and as you can see, that rubber gasket lines up perfectly along the outside of the hole that we just drilled. This cap goes on, screws down tightly, and there we go. That's all there is to it. It has that rubber gasket that'll stop any water from coming out, and then, like I said, we'll be able to connect our water pump hose right into it, unconnect it, you know, when we need to go fill up our water tanks or service it in any way, and then no water will come out because there's this stop valve. The next one I have is this connector for our gray tank. The reason this is a little different is I went with a 3/4 inch diameter so that as the sink is draining, it has more space to flow, whereas these are just 1/2 inch. For this one, I have this cap here. I'm probably just gonna screw it back on the container because then this cap should stay nice and straight, nice and flat. I can't screw back from this side because basically that plastic piece is what needs to get ripped out, and I can't do that in this direction. So I'm gonna have to go through this way, and there's no real way that I can keep this in place while I do that. I messed that piece up because it had that plastic round to it. The bit actually tore that whole plastic piece out, so it ripped a bigger hole than the actual bit. So now that piece, when it's in there, doesn't stop this plastic piece from going in. The thing that I originally thought with that pass-through bulkhead, I thought that was going to work for this, but it does not thread to this piece. So I went to Home Depot and bought this piece, which threads into our connector, but that piece threads into the bulkhead. Pop that into the hole, the standard hole without the cap, and we have a perfect piece. So the next step after we have that cap, I bought this food grade silicone hose. There's a barb connector on this bottom here, and so that will just connect over the top of that, and it makes a nice sturdy seal. When this is in the tank, we need to make sure that it pulls water all the way from the bottom. Figuring where this cap will be, I'm just kind of visualizing where that hose will be, and so I'm just going to cut it off where it has a little bit of an angle so that I can get into the sides. You know, we might want to tuck it down into that spot. I think cutting it right here will make it a perfect spot. And I think I might actually cut this at a little bit of an angle as well. we go. Now we'll do that for a second tube as well, just mimicking the size of that one. Wanted to dry fit everything and see the problem with that connection that ended up not working and me thinking I had a fix for it. It now makes that connection too high. So when the sink is up in place, there's no way it will drain into that because the drain is too low.
Many hours later.
Oh my God, guys. I just spent hours at Lowe's trying to figure out the best way to connect this hose, which used to be one piece. This is the Camco RV drain. It basically acts like a P-trap on the bottom of your sink. I really wanted this dang quick connect on, but because it was this plus another that tall, it was too high on the sink. So I found these brass fittings to fit in between so that it will fit flat like that rather than up and down, so that it will have the desired effect. I am way behind schedule. I thought I would have our pump and accumulator tank installed today, but definitely don't. We'll see where we get from here. All right, guys, since it's getting dark, I'm not going to talk too much about these until it's light out and I can show you them a little bit more. We're going to try to put both of them on this side wall. So our pump is put here on the front side of the van. So it will pull directly out of these tanks through this hose, which I will connect with a couple shark bite fittings. And so that will basically connect these two up and then connect to this hose. And then that goes across. This will wrap around the sink nicely into an accumulator tank. That's one way of keeping pressure within the system and not needing to run the pump as much. It's something that the life of your pump will be extended because of those. And so then that has a shark bite fitting that PEX tubing will come out to. It will both feed our sink here, but then I'm also going to put a line through the wall all the way to the back of the van so that we have a hose fitting out the back. So we could use that to wash off the dogs, our bikes, shower if we want to. We won't have hot water, but it's something that we'll be able to utilize there. One of the things I was looking at today is figuring out how to mount the sink. The installation directions with the sink we purchased came with these clips for undermounting. I don't think I'm going to use these, mainly because the box for where our sink sits isn't wide enough to be able to get these clips that need a couple inches out from the edge. So I ended up buying some silicone adhesive, the JB Weld adhesive that we use for around the windows in the back. And my plan is to adhesive it all the way around, so it's both waterproof and then as well it's an adhesive, and so it will have holding power there. So one of the things I'm going to do for some added security is add a couple rails down the side of the sink, and so the sink edge will just hold on the top of this, so that will give some added security. I went ahead and cut these on the miter saw. As you saw, I just marked out an edge, just holding them up above where the frame pieces were. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some pocket holes in them. Well, packed everything up because it has started raining. It's been doing this on and off all day, but there's a tropical storm coming, so I'm gonna just go inside.
Later that same evening.
Got that silicone cut open. I don't know if you can see that, but I penciled where the edge of the sink needs to be nice and centered over the hole. I took Windex, cleaned off both surfaces. So now I'm gonna go ahead and make a bead around the sink, closer to the outside, because there is gonna be a lip that a insert can sit in. So I definitely don't want too much coming out the side, but I did bring gloves. I am gonna fillet that silicone all around that edge. I'm gonna do that, flip it up here, look underneath it, make sure it's all centered in nicely. We'll put a weight over the top of it and then flay it down, and then we'll let it sit. I did my best to fillet the silicone around. One of the problems I ran into, the backyard kind of slopes down. So when I first put the weight on, the whole sink was shifting. So I left it off for a little while, made sure to get it nice and straight again, and then put the weight on there. But it's starting to worry me a little bit again because I'm seeing silicone in places that I didn't previously. So I'm gonna kind of just keep an eye on it for a little while. After about an hour of it sitting, get it in the van.
The next day.
Hey guys, next day, I'm just cleaning up the edge with a wet towel. Once I get this all cleaned up, we'll go throw it in the van, mark off where we're gonna need those cross members, and then maybe see about epoxying it. It's starting to rain. There's a 50% chance all day long. There's freaking blue skies over there, clouds over here, raining on us. So I'm picking everything up.
A few moments later.
This weather is absolutely driving me nuts. This hurricane can just go away. Oh my God, it's hot. So here we go. I kind of marked out where they were. This one though, where it was perfectly fitting, there is this foam piece. So I moved it over just a little bit. It still will be on the rail. But as you can see, there's a little bit of a lip. That's how much we needed for the sink. All right, so my plan was to line it up with this edge, just perfect. And there you can see underneath that it is on the rails. That reveal all the way around is even. I was really worried about that with that epoxy, how it started slipping when I put those weights on last night, but it ended up perfect. It let me reposition it, dried enough that when I put the weights back on, it didn't move, so yes. I might see about calling a friend, because if we were to put the epoxy on the cabinet box, there would be a problem with me trying to lift it in there all by myself and getting it pretty messy all over the place. So I need somebody to help hold it on one side to just set it in there perfectly. All right guys, I have a buddy coming, so I'm gonna get this moved out. I have a 2-part epoxy. It was what the company sent. There's not, you know, it's not supposed to have any VOCs. It's supposed to be a pretty legit product. This basically just gets mixed, the 2 parts together, just 1 part each. He's on his way over, and hopefully before the storm comes, we'll get it done.
Hours later.
The countertop is in, nice and sturdy. That glue is all dried. We got that cutout that goes right over our sink. I am going to finish up putting the drain in for the gray tank. We bought this matte black drain off Amazon. This has a foam ring around the inside so that you don't need any plumber's putty or any other kind of sealant in there. So this basically will just pop into the drain hole. The gasket and cardboard are going to go up underneath, and then it has this ring that you lock on there. This is the drain for the gray tank, so I'm actually going to use some of this pipe thread sealant around this, screw that on hand tight, and then connect this. Tune in next week to find out if the second gray tank iteration works without a leak, and to see how the rest of our plumbing system comes together. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell to be notified as we post new videos. Have an awesome week!